Okay, so what were your first gig experiences like?
Chaotic. I was in a band called The Mental, and all the gigs we had were set up around Basingstoke where our guitarist lived, because he set them up. And we couldn't really play properly. I know it's a cliche that punk bands couldn't play properly. We really couldn't. It was all feedback. Nothing worked properly. One of the first gigs in Basingstoke in a small stageless pub, I was so embarrassed by it all that I stood to the side with my back to the wall with the lyrics in front of me and singing from the side so no less people would be looking at me. Yeah. I was just embarrassed. I didn't want to be there. Yeah. It was atrocious. Yeah. Not so chaotic. The band were chaotic. The crowd was just very still, and they were 20 people. In early days.
Yeah, like well, the first gig Crass ever did was in a Scottish festival there in Huntley Street in a courtyard, and we got to our fourth song and we got switched off by a bloke from across the road, and we didn't do anything about it.
Oh.
So it's like, oh well, okay then. But then we only had to lose on the last song anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Fourth song.
And we were performing to women with their kids, you know, babies and kids running around, and two people dressed up as giant teddy bears walking in the shop and all this. Yeah, very strange bit. But I remember going back, getting really drunk that night and thinking, yes, we've done it. I'm going to be famous. So,
we've done a gig.
Yeah, next gig, 2 people. I was like, oh God. And it took about, quite a while to sort of get out of that sort of thing, and I think that's why I still get dreadful stage fright, because of those days. Yeah, get dreadful stage fright.
When you say dreadful, like, do you comment with drugs or booze?
Booze, definitely. Right. Yeah, and smoke a lot, but and that's why I tend not to use the dressing room or whatever. Right. Because if I'm that makes me even more nervous. I've got to be out there seeing what's going on.
Right.
Nattering and all that sort of thing. I've got to be doing that because then it calms me down a little bit, and then it's like, oh, but it's like that. Only 5 minutes. Who the hell? And then you get on, and it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing now. It's okay.
When it's all going,
you're
there.
Yeah.
And it's like finally you're sort of in charge of the situation. But before that, it can be nerve-wracking as hell. We had a Sitfish tour with the Levelers, and it's like gulp. Okay, so like 10 days in a row or something, and it was a bit of a nightmare to start. We started on a Tuesday. It was not the best day of the week for a gig in Cambridge, and it was packed out. Like 400 people or something. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody cared who we were. From beginning to end, I lost all my usual chattiness.
Yeah.
And all that spiel between songs. This song's about da da da. It was just like, thanks. It's just thank you. Right. This next one's called. I'm just willing the gig to end as soon as possible. By the end, we got to big city London, even more people. By that point, I was fuming in between songs and just ranting down the mic in proper style, and I'd overcome it. But that whole thing, and doing our own headline gigs, there's still at least a touch of nervousness going on, but I think that's kind of essential. Yeah. If you lose all the nervousness, you start feeling cocky that you can't go wrong, then it will go wrong. Yeah. And I'm reading through lyrics I've sung for years and years and years before we go on, just checking, just running it through my head, but don't have more than one drink, because I was reading my diary because Ian Glasper's doing a book, quick advert. Ian Glasper, the author, the punk rock author, is doing a book about subhumans, folks. It'll be out at some point. Yeah, he's doing my job for me. Everybody says, "Oh, you should write a book," and I should. And then I just get stuck. Where do you start? Which bits do you leave out? But he says, "I'm going to do a book about subhumans, all the details." And he's going to interview all sorts of people we haven't seen or heard of for years. He's dug them all up. Anyway, what was I saying?
Lyrics and only have one drink.
And drinking. I was reading my diaries through all these subhumans years, and the amount of drunkenness before gigs, not falling over drunk, but at least 2 or 3 pints before every gig. I cut that out. I have one Jack Daniels or whatever, just to loosen up. But we built our entire so-called career on being at least semi-drunk for most of the gigs. But it's amazing what you can put away when you're younger. That's kind of totally irrelevant to what we were talking about. Nerves. Stage nerves, yes. The nervousness, that butterfly thing, it's got to be there. And then when the music kicks in, if everything's just working, it's just like, just the chords, just the volume. Yeah.
But then going back to gigs and the first, obviously the first punk rock gig I went to was to see the Clash in Bristol.
Right.
And that blew me away. And then of course once I'd moved back down to Essex, I started hanging out in London. But I was seeing gigs there and stuff. And it was just fantastic. I just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
Just really, it's amazing. And I remember being, where was it? A place called the Central Iberica.
Oh yeah, right.
And I was on the stairs talking to someone, and he's like, blah, 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 and I was like, yeah, and I'm like, and I could hear this sound going on, and I was like, yeah, and I'm sort of twitching like this, and I'm like, yeah, and it's going on, and I'm like, yeah, and I can hear this amazing stuff going on, and I was like, sorry mate, I've got to stop you, I've got to go and see this band. And it was a band called Dead Man Shadow.
Oh, right.
And for some reason, that night, they were, for me, they did it, they hit, and I was like, brilliant. I'm experiencing something here that I'll probably never see again.
Right.
It was just one of those, do you know what I mean, Dick? When you see a band and they're just sort of, all right, they're playing crap or they're out of
First
tune.
time I saw the Instigators, it was like that. It's like, oh my God, what's this?
Yeah.
Just hang on, hold everything, zoom. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So from first gigs, what about your first experience of touring in the States? What was that like?
That was insane. That was 1984 we were over there. John Loder sorted it out.
Right.
With Gary Tovar, who was putting on very large gigs in LA on the West Coast. And he was just getting off the phone. We were in the studio doing Trail to the Grave recording. And he says, do you want to tour America? And it's like, yes. It's like, really? And yeah, they sorted out. The whole experience, because it was a 3-week thing, it's too much to go into detail, but the whole experience was just full of new things. Like, everything was bigger. We'd never even stayed in a hotel before, let alone we'd never flown on an aeroplane before. Like, we were like average age of 20, and experiencing Wiltshire boys go to the big country or whatever. It's fairly mind-blowing. Never travelled so far, so much in a van the same day, that sort of thing. Never eaten pizza before, never eaten chilies before, never smoked chilies before. You ever put little ground up chilies in a roll up as an experiment, see what happens? No, don't.
Right,
Because it's like the biggest menthol cigarette hit you ever had. And you're just coughing in about 5 minutes. I think, right, I want to do that again.
Right, okay.
Health warning. Musically, we were playing with MDC, and we had a gig with the Dead Kennedys. The second time over there was a tour with the Scream, who were an excellent band from Washington. Everything American, including the punk crowd, they were louder, more forthright. Nobody had any subtlety. They didn't know what irony was. Pits, stage diving, we'd never seen any of that. That was just insane. Just stand there clutching the mic stand and just watching all these people zooming around you and leaping off the stage, and all these people down there going like this, banging into each other. There's a sort of undercurrent or overcurrent of like semi-contained violence going on all the time. It was well over the top. The first gig was like 3,000 people. We drove the van into the venue. It was like, what on earth? Just seats all around the back and big space in the middle. And Maximum Rock and Roll did an interview. We met Tim Johannen and saw the undercurrent of the anarcho-punk thing going on there. But yeah, punk was as big over there in '84 as it was in the UK in '84. It was go, go, go. A fantastic experience. Never wanted to live there to experience it all the time, because certain things about America it's a bit too flashy, it's a bit too shallow, it's a bit too conformist and consumerist and just rules to roost, basically, and a bit too oh my god. People couldn't believe they were stood next to me, and it's just like, woo, don't do this. So yeah, it was nice to get back, but in terms of touring, it was fantastic. Now, there was probably not even a rumour, but a fact that Crass opted not to go to America as a sort of
what happened was,
policy.
no, what it was, it weren't that. It was we opted not to go outside England.
Well, just England, not the UK.
Well, you know, yeah, the UK.
Oh, right.
So, because what happened, we were doing a little tour in Holland, and we had a gig in Germany in Düsseldorf, and we turned up late, and it's pissed down the rain, and the punks were waiting outside. We were an hour and a half late or something, and the punks were waiting outside, and then the police had turned up and said, "You can't hang around here," but you know. So they turned the police car over and set fire to it. So we turn up and this mini riot is going on. It's what the fuck is going on? So then the old Bill was saying, we've got to stop the gig. So we translated and said, if you do that, you're going to have worse problems. So let the gig go. Anyway, the gig went ahead. We were talking about it afterwards, and because of the nature of what we were doing and singing about, like over here, we've given out handouts what to do if you get arrested.
Yeah.
You know, what your rights are. Well, we didn't speak German. We didn't know what the fuck was going on over there. So what the fuck were we going to do? So there was this big sort of 5-hour-long discussion around the Crass kitchen table. Should we, shouldn't we go? Well, I was going, yeah, we should go everywhere. And it was like, no, we should just stay in our own backyard and deal with that and let other people go abroad and do that. And then Penny Rambo's clincher was, and besides which Elvis never came to England, and look at the myth he created. I was like, oh, fuck it, it's fucked it then, isn't it? So I didn't get to go to America. I mean, Crass had played New York, 3 gigs back in 1978 or something, very small thing.
Right.
Vulture would set it up for us. We did that, and that was, for me, that was amazing. I mean, I was like 19, 20, you know,
Yeah.
New York at that time. The Aim and Nitrate was fantastic. It was I mean, my God, going to what in those days were transvestite bars and things, which I've never seen. Fucking amazing. There's beautiful women in there, blokes. I don't give a shit. Fucking hell. So the whole thing, you know, you could drink for 24 hours, just go from bar to club to club to bar to thing, and it's like, wow. Anyway, did that, and then it weren't until I was in started a band with Gary Buckley called Stratford Mercenaries.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I've got this idea, you know. He said, yeah, and I said, well, you know, I want to go to America. I want to play there. They went, okay, well, I'm just going over in a couple of weeks' time to see the girlfriend. I'll set something up, which he did. He set up.
We played together at one gig.
That's right. I think this was after that. I'm not sure.
Was it San Francisco?
Yeah, it was San Francisco.
It was Stratford Mercenaries, definitely.
Yeah, it was San Francisco.
Yeah.
And we did this tour, and it was like sort of pretty much an independent thing, DIY thing. But that opened my eyes to it. But it wasn't. I was frightened it was going to be a rock and roll circus,
Right.
and it wasn't. In fact, that people were most people were like real respectful, and like there was oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking. There was that sort of thing, but then there was the serious side of it. Yeah, all right, mate. You know, where's your clip? Yeah, okay. And Steve, could I just ask you? Fuck you know, yeah, to that. Dad, so there's that side of it as well. But everything, you know, it sounds like I'm sitting on the fence here. But everything you said about it, America, is exactly what I felt. I would never want to live there.
Right.
It's too much for me.
Yeah.
It just gets so many ticks in the end. It's, you know, and they're always banging on about how shit English food is. Right. Well, the American food I've tried, mate, the apples are so soft you ain't even got to chew them, just suck it. So it's like, you lazy bastards.
Mind you, there is restaurants in America that do things with seitan
Oh yeah.
that you would not believe.
Oh no, I've been to
Some of
one.
the
Yeah.
best veggie vegan restaurants out there
you've
ever eaten ever. Just like
yeah.
total treat.
Yeah.
And of course McDonald's and all that shit is
Yeah,
complete shit, and it's like there are 6 ingredients in a McDonald's chip.
Yeah.
It's like, what? It's a potato. No,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And it'll mess you up.
Yeah.
I've met people who are addicted to McDonald's. They seriously get the shakes if they haven't had a burger within like 2 days. And
Fuck.
yeah,
Seriously?
yeah. And that was in Australia actually, but it's still McDonald's. It's still that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just to counterpoint this, there was an interesting, what's the word? Difference. So we was at a tour leading up to Phil's wedding in New York. We married Erica, and Subhumans did these gigs, about 5 gigs on the way down from Canada to New York, and it was all like your sort of standard American venues, you know, security, yada yada yada, punk rockers turn up, standard gigs. Then on the way back, because Trotsky had to go home, that's right, we had Bruce from Subhumans, and because of the band's sort of incestuousness, half of Citizen Fish are in Subhumans anyway, we did a small Citizen Fish tour going back up the coast, and because Citizen Fish just basically get less people at gigs than Subhumans do, the whole route was full of these basement gigs in people's basements, and like fantastic, because you've got like 50 kids in a basement and just no stage, just completely sweat boxes. Fantastic vibes, brilliant all the way up. And people bring things along like a pile of books. They want to get you some books. Do you want to have any? You might like this one. And it's a real sharing thing. You know, the backstage room is, well, there's a kitchen upstairs. You know, the toilet's here, the kitchen's here. We've got a keg of beer here. And it's brilliant. You can't get basement. Just not really basements over here.
Yeah.
In Europe, basically, nobody's got basements. They got basements and they got porches in America where you can sit down after a nice gig, and the those things that go are going crickets, and you just sit there and get through a whole bottle of whatever you like and have a good old chat and sit on a rocking chair on the porch, and it is just, you don't get that anywhere else. So there's good things like that you won't get anywhere else. The nature of relaxing after a gig.
And the people in America?
The people are friendly, open, outspoken. That's good enough. Yeah. And they might be outspoken about stuff you just completely disagree with, but they won't be ashamed to tell you, see your face, what they think.
Okay, so Dick, do you have a question for Steve?
I've already asked the questions earlier, which is about, you know, how do you deal with compliments, and about the Go to America thing. But one just popped up. I wonder if you've ever involved any token representatives of the animal kingdom in your oeuvre so far. So I tell you, hey, how's that? Now he's worried. He's thinking, what the fuck is he on about? What's an oeuvre? It's like French for egg, but with more words in it.
Right.
In your musical work so far, have you ever involved in anything like Oscar the Fish, for instance? Because Oscar does the introductory 4-squeak intro to the song Walls of Silence on the 29 Split Vision album by the Subhumans, where he goes, the music goes dum dibbidum dit dum dibbidum dit dum dibbidum dit, like that.
Right.
Don't you? Yes.
Right. No, I've never done that.
I thought you might say that, but I thought I've got to get Oscar in on this interview somewhere.
Yeah.
This Oscar, you know where he's going next? After years, he lost his squeak, and I'm afraid I was a bit callous and I left him on the shelf. I took him round on tour in the 80s, and he was in my pocket a lot. Hence all this, he's got a lot of filth around the edges, as you can see, and he doesn't mind. He's a bit of a crusty fish, basically. And then I got a letter, or an email, they call them, and they're setting up, Fat Mike from Fat Records and a bunch of other people are setting up a punk rock museum in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Have you got anything old that isn't just flyers or bits of paper that we can have in our museum? And I thought, no, because I finally got rid of my old leather jacket because it was going mouldy and I'd worn it for 20, 30 years. And then I thought, aha, there's Oscar. Yes. And I thought, well, where is he? Looked and I put him in a special place. And there he was. And there he is. And I asked him if he wanted to go to Las Vegas, be in a museum. And I thought, might be a bit of separation issues. But he said, so I thought, fair enough. So he's going to go off. I'm going to do a farewell interview with him about his life and career as the only animalistic thing involved in the Subhumans oeuvre.
Right. Oeuvre. Right. I thought that meant open.
No, that's
oeuvre.
Oeuvre.
Yeah.
Well, it's subtle difference, isn't it? Bloody French is so subtle.
Yeah.
And so, I thought we'd bring him in, quick advert for him.
Yeah.
Go to the Punk Rock Museum in Vegas, folks. Or don't. I mean, a Punk Rock Museum, what's that about? But, benefit of the doubt, he might as well be sat somewhere doing nothing and being looked at by people who might be slightly entertained by the notion of him appearing on a record, and it's a bit of reference, and it's a bit three-dimensional, and otherwise you just sat around on a shelf doing nothing for another 30 years. Exactly.
The only sort of thing I come up with to an answer for that is that we actually did use domestic appliances with cracks.
Saucepans.
Yes.
In the kitchen at Southern.
That's right. Big A, little A. Be
Like
exactly you want to be, do what you want to do. Boom. And that was a saucepan full of water. But what we had to do, we actually had to tune it.
Oh.
So we would tip it out water. Here and no, that's not quite much. Ooh,
that's Jones. He would tune everything.
Yeah, Kenny Rambo, the intergalactic. Colonel. God almighty, it took him 2 days to set up his drum sound once. I was going fucking ballistic. Yeah, I remember those Roboton things that fucking things, yeah. Dum, 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 fuck's sake, Brent. Oh, love. Oh, sorry. Might belong. That's my lovely missus there.
And Steve, have you got a question for Dick?
Yeah. Do you ever get homesick?
Oh. Yes. On that first American tour, I was actually semi-tearful missing my dad, oddly enough. Yeah, just for one night. For the first night we were there, I think. It felt so strange being away.
Yeah, I thought I'd phone it in because I always get homesick.
Right.
I mean, obviously I'm not homesick now, all this sort of thing. And I remember sort of meeting you, I think it was Milton Keynes I met. I went, oh, you know, what you been doing? And I went, oh, blah, blah. We're off to America again, and then we're going to so-and-so. And I was like, fucking hell. You never seem to be out of that van. And I thought, I couldn't stand it. 10 days at the most is my living.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's now. Yeah, it's my living. I can't do it anymore. You know, I just get drained.
I seem to have a knack of just starting each day. No, I haven't got that knack. Afresh, but it's not that fresh after a couple of weeks. But you get into a habit.
Yeah.
If you're on the longest tour we ever did was 6 weeks, I think. And you hear about bands going on tour for like 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like, what? How do you afford that? How do you organise that? And I think they just organised the end of the tour at the start of the tour. They're still organising a few weeks ahead or something. or they've got someone to do it for them. No, I don't really get homesick. I get being a bit gig sick, being at home all the time for the last year and a half. Well, I say usually, there's another tour coming up in a month or whatever to make sure that's still organised.
Yeah.
There's always more to organise in terms of gigs. I'm excluding the last 16 months out of everything I was saying today.
Yeah.
It's just I want that to be a total aberration. I really want everything to get back to the strange version of normality that I'm used to, where being at home is 50-50 with being away on tour, roughly. Where it's a good mixture of things, in and out, so nothing gets boring, you don't get homesick or tour sick at all, because there's always something else to go on to.
Yeah.
And this, being at home for 16 months, dealt with it. It's just a bit strange. Not getting the activity, not seeing people. We do the FaceTime and stuff, which is and the Zoom thing. That's a new thing, which is it helps a little bit seeing people. But as soon as you get more than 4, everyone's interrupting each other. You can't hear anybody saying anything. It ain't the same.
Quick 5 questions. Steve, what's your favourite food?
Right. I've got 2. That's one is definitely after a gig pizza. Margarita. Just don't fuck about with it. Just cheese and tomato. Don't put fucking pineapple on it. Just cheese and tomato. Thank you. Then I can go back to my travel lodge, fold it over in half, put the chips in the middle of it.
This is where we separate. We go our separate ways.
Yeah.
Pineapple is the most fantastic thing you can put on a pizza ever. And there's a whole thing. Oh, pineapple pizza, heathen. Throw them off the edge of the cliff. No, it's the best thing. It's juice, just when you need it most. Anyway, apart from that,
Favourite food number 2? You were saying there's another one.
No, that was
No,
pizza
just
and
that
chips,
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the
chips,
pizza and
of course.
chips. Yeah. Dick, favourite food?
well, for years it was pizza. I mean, absolutely years and years and years. And now it's, I don't know, possibly still pizza, but then again, I've sort of tried to move away from food that's got so many additives in it.
Yeah.
Oh, nothing, not one. Can you believe it? Not one thing is popping its
come
head
on.
up. Oh, come on, try harder. I hate picking favourites.
Something that gets the juices going then. Warm ciabatta, olives, blue cheese.
Get a bit of toast, right? Grill a bit of toast. Bit of butter. Then, what was it? It went Marmite. And sliced up and then spread out banana. And then Demerara sugar on top, a little sprinkle. Now, that's not my favourite food, but it is one of my favourite foods of all time. Because way back when, this is like late 80s, I was eating loads of this stuff. Just like Marmite, banana, Demerara sugar on toast. You got the crunchiness from the sugar, the spiciness from the Marmite, and the juiciness and the softness and the nutrition from the banana, and the fill you up factor from the bread. Can't go wrong. And people say, so yeah, well, if you like all the ingredients of something, then logically you should just like eating them all together, right? That's my theory.
Yeah, and because I used to do a sandwich like that, but mine was not toast, but just the homemade bread we used to do, peanut butter and raw onion.
Raw onion. Yeah.
I know it sounds bizarre, but this was before I'd heard of that satay sauce and stuff. So
Yeah.
obviously, and like sometimes if I have a salad, I'll have mint sauce on the salad rather than salad cream or salad. And I was like, oh no, this is weird. It's like no, because when you go to an Indian restaurant, what do you get with your?
Yeah.
And I remember way back before corn ever existed, I was living at the old house, and God, my teeth itch just for that texture of meat sort of thing. You know, you
Yeah.
get something. Slice of bread. Raw mushroom sliced thinly, salt, bit of bread, chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
It's got that squeakiness and yeah. So
At least
we've given them some tips on how to
yeah.
eat people.
I swear,
Yeah.
80% of the difficulty of turning veggie or vegan is all about texture.
Yes.
It's not taste, it's texture.
Yeah,
it is for me.
yeah.
Chewing, something
Yeah.
to chew on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So don't fuck about it. Get it right.
Okay, a book that had a real impact on you, Steve.
It's got to be Kes. Closely followed by Saturday Night, Sunday Morning. Yeah.
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Ah.
Read it 3 times, and bits of it are just illuminating. The bits about quality, the nature of quality, I just find utterly fascinating, and it is superb. I won't go on about what he says because I can't quite remember it. That's why I keep rereading things, you know, that book especially. And he did a follow-up called Leela, which he wrote years after that one, and that again studies the nature of quality and what people think is quality of things, and that might clash against your nature of quality. And he just takes it on. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Great. Favourite place to play?
And The Dice Man
Oh, the Dice
by
Man.
Luke Reinhardt. Fantastic book. Had to mention that.
Talked over you. Okay. Favourite place to play, and that can be a country or venue.
Well, I haven't played here yet, so I can't mention this place. I would have to say one of my favourite places. It's got to be one of, because it's really
Yeah.
difficult to. I would have to say Foreman's Bar in Nottingham. It's unbelievably. Have you ever played it?
No.
It's unbelievably small. It's literally that. That's the bar there, which is very small, and this is the pub. Literally from there to there, it's 50 people fit in.
Right.
And when you turn up there, you think, fuck hell. But they've got one little speaker up there and one little speaker that goes out there. And it's one of the best sounds we've had. This is with Slice as well, you know how diddly we are.
Yeah.
But what I really love about it, it's run by people who are just so passionate about it, Jason and the crew. But you go outside and they've got their little bit closed off with the table and chairs, all punks sitting there drinking beers, and it's smack dab in the middle of Starbucks, Pizza Hut, blah blah, da 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 da, and it's a pedestrianised thing. So you've got all these people doing their Saturday shopping, and there's all these punks, totally illegal, all this sort of thing. But I just love it. It's one of the best. I would just please people go and play at Forms.
Right.
So definitely.
I'm gonna go for what's it called? It's in Lep in Ireland, spelt Leap.
Yeah.
West Island, Connolly's. That's what it's called. Been there for years. We played there twice with a great big time gap in between them, and they are just. It's just a pub in a small town. They look after you. They put you up in a spare house there at that point for putting bands up in. They feed you fantastic food. They give you fantastic coffee. They just totally look after you from the moment of arrival till the moment you depart the next day.
Yeah.
The PA is good. It's a small venue. They've got sort of upstairs bit. People look down a little bit. It's about half the size of this place, this room. Great sound, and just all those rumours about Irish friendliness and treating travellers well is all true. It totally is. They just love it,
Yeah.
and you can't even get angry at anything.
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful.
Yeah.
The Irish are, by and large,
Yeah.
lovely people.
Yeah.
And favourite spot to visit, or one of your favourite spots to visit on the entire planet? If someone said you can get on a plane or get on a boat and go somewhere, where would you go?
I would have to say it's a place called, I don't know if it still exists, but I would have to say a place called Dettifoss in Iceland. And there's a big waterfall called Gullfoss, which means golden falls. That's where the tourists go, and it's all roped off now. When I first went there, you could just walk up to it, I actually stood under it and drank it. The water was that fresh and pure. But then I was taken to another one when I went to stay in Iceland with Einar from the Sugar Goose. I just picked that name up, and Bjork was there. I just picked that name up as well. And we went to place Dettifoss, and not a lot of people know about it, but it's just as beautiful. But it's very secluded and small, and it's and then just down the road there's a sort of round cliff thing, and apparently it's where one of Odin's horses, because it had 8 hooves, one of its hooves went down. That's why it's created this thing. So it's
Wow, it's amazing.
I think I just plugged for Duckpool, which is on the west coast of Devon, just above Bluurg. It's on the map if you look closely enough. It is also secluded, which is a lot to do with why it's so good. And it's just a bit of the Devon coast on which the rocks are almost, every rock that's sticking out the sand and going into the sea is like almost like sculpture, with like curves and bends in it, and it's not jagged and nasty, but it looks completely alien to this planet. It's fantastic. And they've got pebbles this size, so for someone like me who likes balancing rocks, it's just heavenly. They just balance stuff for hours. The air there has a special cleanliness to it. The light just shines through special. It's right hippie now, yeah. But yeah, I like it so much. I don't want anyone else to go there.
So good.
No,
And
I want everybody to go there at least once, just not while I'm there at the same time. Yeah.
And to round off, what message would you give to anybody who wants to start a band or be a singer-songwriter, DIY styling?
Do it. You've already got the best idea anyway, just follow it through. Because with DIY comes a complete potential for failure as well as success. Don't expect anything. Do it entirely because you want to do it. And if your self-belief gets poured into your creativity, people will like it and notice it and give you all the love and respect you ever dreamt of. And if you pretend to do something that you're not quite into, people will notice that as well, and they won't like it as much. And if you pretend to be some sort of rock star in your ambitions, people will just, either make you dead famous or spit on your grave. And it depends which way you want to go, really. If you want to be famous, then you're probably doing the wrong thing, you're in the wrong place. But if you want to be self-expressive and enjoy yourself with other people that like-mindedness, then small is good. If it gets bigger, then so much for it. But intention is everything, and creativity needs the self-respect of what's the magic word here?
Oeuvre.
Could be, yeah. Of oh, what's the word? That means the other. This is a
What
terrible.
means the other word?
Edit,
Is it the Punk Rock nursing home calling again?
Realness.
You
What's the word for
know.
realness?
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Nailed it.
Authenticity.
Yes. Yes, without authenticity, it all goes to pot. But with it, you can just rule the world in your own special little way. And send me a copy and I'll listen to it. Ta.
Steve?
Give it a go, and if you like it, crack on doing it. But don't, as Dick said, don't expect anything, you know. But if you don't like it, fuck off and go down a pub, and you'll bore people like me to tears with how you used to be in a band as well for about 2 weeks. Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Oh, and by the way, for drinking and driving, make sure you've got a van.
It's safer that way.
It is.
Or is it? Right, thank you both.
Thank
That
you.
was great. Brilliant.
Thanks.
Thank
Dick,
you.
It's been great.
Steve, excellent. We must do this again.
Definitely.
Yay.